So there's some questions in there about co-founders, and hopefully there's some useful insights there. But you go out, you start the company, kind of getting back to that idea of the template that I've seen work well for people. And again, if you're watching this at DEF CON, chances are, you are somebody who has a very, probably similar story, and you're probably good at what you do if you're here. And so, starting a company, and then you get out there to peer organizations, and of course you really start, leveraging those relationships you've developed over the time that you've been in the industry, right? And then what happens next? So this is where you reach an inflection point, and it's worth talking about investment and investors. Right? We were kind of addressing that a little bit earlier, but let's take a more intimate look at that question. So with Preventure, we grew totally organically, never took investment money, and we never took investment money because of all the horror stories I had heard about friends and other people who had worked with investors, and I never saw it work out well. And in fact, early in Awake's life, I did talk to some investors, and I really got the sense that they were not the type of people I wanted to develop, a very close relationship with, like that would have that much influence over the company. And so I had a very poor kind of opinion about investors. And what I found with Preventure was that we were able to, we did it. We developed a customer base. We were able to, support ourselves, and we were doing it. We did it without investment. Now, here's the interesting thing. What we experienced because of that was not necessarily great either. So we got to the point where we were bringing in enough revenue that where we can start paying ourselves, and we were able to start making a living. We were just able to start seeing our customer base grow, and that was great. But it wasn't enough revenue for us to hire the people we needed to hire to really grow the business, right? It was still, I had to do an enormous amount of selling and trying to find deals and close deals, and I was still doing an enormous amount of development because, again, it wasn't enough revenue to really build the team and get more help in all the areas we needed. And so we had customers came on board. Now there's customer support. Of course, there's all the legal and tax side of the business that, again, I had no background in before, but you figure it out, right? There's plenty of information out there. The IRS is more than happy to make sure you know how to file your taxes. So we hit a ceiling, and it was exhausting. By looking at the customer base we developed and how we did it on our own, on one hand it looks incredibly successful. On the other hand, as draining as it was, that was really difficult. And I think we ended up in that situation, right, because we didn't want to take investment. Now let's fast forward to Awake, opposite end of the spectrum. Not only did we work with investors, we were able to, very incredibly fortunate enough to work with the top tier investors. And that radically altered my view, radically changed my opinion on the value and importance, actually, of investors. Not just investment, not just money into the company, but investors, high quality investors. And so when you look at, at firms that are, like Greylock and their peers, what you find is that they receive, thousands and thousands of pitch decks, business pitches, per year, and they invest in like maybe a dozen or so, not too many. So very, very incredibly selective. Now, why do they receive so many pitch decks per year? Why are they the top tier? They're the top tier because they tend to be the most, well, not tend to, they are the most entrepreneur and employee friendly. So when they make investments into startups, the terms that they structure around those deals tend to be very, very, very friendly to employees, right? Which makes it easier for you as an entrepreneur to recruit the highest level of talent available. And so, great. Well, that comes at a cost to the venture firm, right? They are giving up equity that they could be taking for themselves. Well, because they do that, so, everybody wants to work with them. That's why they receive thousands of pitch decks per year. And what that means is they kind of get first selection of the best opportunities out there, because everybody is coming to them because they're so employee and entrepreneur friendly. They get first chance at a lot of the biggest opportunities. Now, the investors that I met when I was doing PreVenture, I was introduced to doing PreVenture, in the very early days, were not at that level at all, and rarely had the opportunity to make an investment, I think, in a cutting edge startup with a good opportunity. And so because of that, when they did make investments, they really had to tighten the thumb screws to make sure that they could get the full value possible from the very, very limited opportunities that they had coming their way. And I think that kind of explained the difference. One of the differences that you can see with these sort of different types of investors. Of course, the investors at Greylock and their peer organizations, there are quite a few around the valley here. It's not just that they have great terms. Unquestionably, some of the most brilliant people I've met in my life were our investors at many of these firms, and so they're there for a reason, and what they bring to the table, their insights, their perspectives, their opinions, are just invaluable. And so, having started off very anti-investor, I would certainly tell you now that investors can be an invaluable addition to your organization.